Welcome, everybody, to the Lifted, Lowered, and Confused podcast. We're live here at Tim's shop. Man, how's it going, Tim?
It's going good, guys. Going good.
I like it. I like it. So today we're going to talk about the top 8 categories, right, that people typically customize cars in, and what we would think would be the easiest car to customize, right? Most kind of easiest as far as accessibility, cost. You know, what somebody who's starting out looking for a project car, what can they get into relatively cheap and have minimal effort and or struggles, I would say, finding parts and you know, the resources to customize it in the way they want to.
Kind of flirts with the line of almost most common too, because
Right.
everybody that can afford it,
That's true.
doing it, you know.
And typically the most common ones are the ones with the most parts out there, and we can kick it off with lowriders, right? Since we talk a lot about lowriders, I'd say, in my opinion, that the easiest, most accessible one to juice currently would probably be a G body, because while prices are going up on G bodies, they're still relatively affordable. And relatively, and there is just catalogs of parts for these, from everything from motors to interiors, all of the aftermarket support, lowrider wise, not only lowrider wise, but in other genres as well. But I think, in my opinion, that's probably one of the easiest and one of the most common.
So I think you hit it on the head when you said affordable, right? And
Right.
how they're getting a little bit higher, because if you guys remember when I bought the Lincoln, I think you can see the Lincoln back here. But when I bought the Lincoln, I originally started looking for a G body, and it was out of my budget. Right. So those cars have evolved over time, where they were really easy to get our hands on, and of course the aftermarket was plentiful, and things looked really good. And now they're a little bit harder to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say, if you're starting with an affordable car, G bodies are great if you can obtain one, for sure.
That's true. That's true.
That's a sentence I never thought I'd heard in my life.
Once you get the car, the parts are.
It was kind of out of my budget.
Yeah.
G body.
The 85 Regal I can't
Yeah.
afford.
I'm like,
that's
never
the-
thought I'd hear that sentence.
And that can go along with an honorable mention, right? Or a second place might be a town car, because they're still affordable, and it's in the lowrider world. There's parts for them. You know, you can get spoons for them. You know, kits are universal. You just got to weld stuff on. But there's a couple companies making plate kits for them, and you know, stress point kits. So there's avenues there.
Yeah.
You know. But I'd say the most common, I think, with the most support would be a G body.
Yeah, they have so much
Unless-
stuff readily available. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Unless you have a bunch of money, then Impala.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Impalas, 59 to 65. I think that's like the bucket years, the X-frame, and they literally have like Impala Bob, Hubbards, like just literally places that will only sell Impala parts, and you can get every nut, every bolt at a click of a button, and it'll be at your house within a week.
I bought a whole nother Impala from ours.
Exactly. So if you can afford the Impala, the parts for it are there. And
Yeah.
Hubbard's isn't
they're not they're
terribly
reasonable.
expensive.
They're reasonable.
Like
I
you
mean,
can, if you can afford the car, the parts are going to be.
Those are your
super
money
easy.
years, like you said. Those in a drop are the most.
Yeah, the-
Other than influential, it's just most expensive.
Yeah, it's the X-frame
Wow.
years. I mean, it's
Insane.
Yeah. And I'd say, I mean, keeping it low, right? I'm gonna throw this one in you guys' realm. The mini trucks. What's the best mini truck? The easiest mini truck.
Oh, wow.
if you're going easy, it's S10.
Easiest.
Easy,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
And
Any
that's
year,
affordable.
pick.
and affordable, right?
Yeah, affordable. Any part or piece you could ever want, or
I believe it's.
modify.
I think the fact of the matter is, there's every last ounce of bagging. A S10 can require zero welding now.
Yeah.
It's all
They,
bolt-
every
bolt-on.
last thing can be, if you can afford it, because they have kits that upgrade to just bolt on.
Yeah.
Every single thing is minimal cutting, and the majority, actually all of it, can be bolt on, but just with minimal cutting, just
Yeah.
for clearance, literally clearance on a few things. That's
Yeah.
it, which is insane.
That's true. I'd
I'd
say
have to say a close second for that would be the Taco, the
I
mid-90s
was
Taco.
just gonna say that. Yeah.
So
And
same
that-
thing, and they are reliable. To
Yeah.
me, they have the prettiest lines of all the
And
mini
that-
trucks.
And that kind of falls into that G body Impala argument, where it's a Toyota and Tacomas are price you're going to pay. You could buy 3 S10s for the price of a decent
Yeah,
Tacoma.
absolutely.
Now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
I like Toyotas. I like the Hilux pickups. The years before, the
Yeah.
83 through 88.
Ah.
I think
cool.
Back to the Future, lifted truck, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's a huge
yeah,
fan of that, right?
With the
Yeah.
rolled bed in.
That's the
there.
body style. I mean,
Classic.
wide fenders. They
Yeah.
look super low when they're just laying frame. I mean, they're just good
Yeah.
looking trucks. You get those
Yeah.
beds in Japanese or American, different ways they latch and things like that. So,
I like it,
Very
man.
cool.
Maybe one day I'll build another mini
maybe
truck.
one day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I went with the Isuzu, which is impossible to find parts for. Impossible.
So that's the other end of the spectrum.
the other end of the
there.
spectrum.
In fact, you lost a part that you can't even get anymore.
it's
on.
gone. It doesn't
Gone.
even doesn't exist.
It literally flew up into the air.
Yep.
Just
It's
disappeared
gone.
in thin
Yeah,
air.
I think any of those trucks, though, the Isuzus, the Toyotas, the Nissans, the D21 hardbody, that's a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
one. Beautiful
Mazdas
truck when
are
it's
nice.
laid out. Mazdas, all of those require you to weld when you're installing the air ride on the front,
Yeah.
where S10s do not. So again,
Right.
back to what's the easiest? Definitely an S10.
And that's
Yeah,
10.
if you're just starting out and you want to cut your teeth,
in S10.
Everything's bolt on.
Some stuff on.
can't
Literally,
bugger it up too bad.
Yeah.
I feel like I still know some people that can.
Oh yeah, there are.
Yeah. Well, let's take it. Let's go opposite, right? Let's go up in the air. What if you want to jack up a big truck, right? I think you and I both know because we have them. The F-250s. There's crap everywhere for these things.
Every year, every
Everyone.
it's a plethora of parts.
Yeah.
Super accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
The only hiccup I ever saw with the F-250
transmission.
is lifting wise. My buddy had a what was the body style before ours? I don't know, like 06 or something, or
Yeah, the
and I don't remember, but he had a 2-wheel drive, and there was only one company that made a lift kit for it. Well, he would want to lift 2-wheel drive anyway. He wanted to go like super crazy, not just like the standard 3-inch leveling kit, whatever. But he wanted to go crazy, and there was one company that made it, but it was expensive. But other than that, man, there's crap everywhere for these things.
and for me, like you said, it's a F250,
Yeah,
not the 150.
not the 150.
If you're gonna lift it up, lift it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Put it-
Thought you was waving.
Hey,
Hey, boys.
I thought he had a question.
Can I buy a vowel?
Ryan, go ahead.
His hands up there.
Ryan's like, I don't like lifted trucks.
Somebody give Ryan a high five.
That's actually Ryan trying to climb into the lifted truck.
Oh, no.
That's more like a stock height.
Oh man.
Lower everything.
There
Fine.
you go. I'd say keep it along
Yes,
the lines
you're right.
of what else can be done. I'd say probably the Ram 2500 is a close second. I'd say there's a lot of stuff for the Rams.
Yeah, if we're talking about commonality, right? The F-250, the Dodge Ram are definitely the two
They're the-
trucks
they're
that,
the top
that ring
two.
that bell for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You do see down here. You see a lot of Chevys lifted, but
The Chevy
I mean,
stuff
it's-
seems to be more expensive though.
yeah, a lot more expensive. And it's like 5 to 1. Like you see 5 Fords to every
Yeah.
one lifted
Yeah,
Chevy.
and I think that's because most of the time the Fords and the Dodges or the Rams, I should say, sorry, are straight axle, so they're easier and cheaper to make the lifts and to lift them and all that stuff. So the Chevy's always done independent front suspension, so
Yeah.
it's always requires a little more.
It was kind of funny because down here in Florida, a lifted truck, you cruise out and you see them everywhere.
Everywhere.
We were up in Indiana not too long ago for Slamology, like snow and nasty weather. It wasn't a lifted truck to be seen, bro. Like,
Honestly, the way things are going with
Nothing.
lifted trucks anymore, I don't even consider them lifted trucks. It's just with the wheels and the tire selections and the poked out so far, it looks like an RC truck.
oh,
Yeah.
I had to
up.
say it. I can't. That's not a truck.
Like,
That's not a
It
lifted
just
truck.
didn't like Florida's flat, like
Yeah.
flat,
Yeah.
and there's no real need
Well,
for a lifted truck. down
they
here.
tell you, well, we like to go off road, but then they never see that.
You know,
So then they go
those
into
things
a
are clean.
flat, sandy area.
Yeah.
and
But then
Listen,
you go
yeah,
up where
listen,
there's hills and snow and
Yeah.
like crappy roads
Yeah.
and nay.
you're
a
not
lifted
putting
truck to be
24s
seen.
with 30
No.
series tires on it. I
No.
can tell you that.
No,
much.
I don't
And
either.
that's-
I got the big old
and
meaty
that's-
tires.
Exactly.
And that's me. Well, I shouldn't say me because I don't really drive that truck. That's really my wife's truck. I just use it as the tow pig. But she is a pavement princess. She does not take that thing off road.
I think for,
She's the pavement princess, and you're a payment princess.
That's,
It's,
yes.
it's a win-win. It's
Yeah.
I think for me when it comes to lifted trucks, especially around here in Florida, like you mentioned, there's so many of them. I'm pretty much desensitized towards them. I mean, trucks can only
Yeah.
get so high, the wheels can only get so big, they can only go so crazy. One of my favorite lifted trucks, and one of the trucks that for somebody starting out on lifted trucks, especially, like a 73 through 87 K10, right? Square body
Yeah.
Chevy, straight axle, super easy to lift with just leaf springs.
Yeah.
Right, nice place to start.
Yeah,
So,
if you can,
Probably
if you
going
can,
to be coming out of pocket for that.
yeah,
initially.
if you can find one
Yeah.
on a deal,
yeah.
by all means, by all means.
In the
Unless-
same genre, the Broncos, the old school.
Yeah, if you,
Yeah.
well, dude, if you can get an old Bronco, but those are like 6-figure trucks
Yeah.
now, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
70s
Crazy.
Broncos,
They're crazy.
Yeah.
6-figure.
I don't want, listen,
I'm good.
we got a couple that have rolled through the shop that I work at. 70s, late 70s Bronco, stuff like that. And there's a company, I forgot the name of the company that puts it out. And I think baseline is 250K.
I'm good
Yeah,
for a
pass it.
Bronco. I'm
And it
way
goes
good.
it goes as high as 500K. There was one that came through was 465. That look, yeah, $465,000. And now when I say I upped and downed it, I upped and downed it. I looked at everything because I know what to look for the upholstery. I looked at the frame. When I say everything was done and done right, it was amazing. From just every last component is not just new, but it's powder coated or treated. It's anodized.
It could be
doesn't-
solid gold.
it could
It's a
be- that's-
Bronco.
I
I'm
get
not
it.
paying half a
I
million
get
for
it.
a Bronco.
I
Sorry.
get it. I don't agree with it, but I will say it was pressed out and ironed out amazingly. Like, I mean, it's just outstanding job.
better
but,
be.
but at the end of the day, like I can see that with a proper shop doing it, the shop that's doing it, and what the options that they offer too for the topless one and then the hard top one. I can see it as much as 150K because builds can get that crazy, but $250,000, $500,000, dude. No, I can see up to 150K, and that's like optioned out. You got the best of the best, and you got the wild colors and all that stuff. But that's
How many years
That's
do you think
tops.
it took them to build it?
that I don't know. I don't know what their turnaround rate is, and I don't know how many they put on the books per year and stuff like that. But I know it's kind of like it's just like I don't know. It's like an expensive watch to me. It's like it tells time just the same as a $6 watch from Walmart. But at the end of the day, it's a status symbol. And for some of these fellows, with the amount of money they have, it's an investment. It's not just buying the vehicle because they'll put 20, 30, 40 miles on it in a year. At the end of the day, it's just turning money and investing in these. And these instead of property, some of these fellows like to invest in cars.
What is the draw? What is the draw for the Bronco? Like, I don't get it. Can somebody explain it to me?
Yeah,
Well, if you're an off-road guy, you'd probably like the Bronco.
Which Bronco are we talking about? Like the OJ Bronco or like the early 70s
Early the
Bronco? or-
70s
Early.
one seemed to be the highest.
By the way, if I ever
Usually
had a
the most
Bronco,
expensive are the 60s, the first gen,
yeah,
the tiny
67,
ones.
Yeah, so
60s, 70s, I would love to have one of those and bag it. I've seen it. I've
people
seen
would
them.
shoot you.
Oh no, we've seen them. What was it?
Just lost
Late
three viewers.
70s?
Yeah.
Was
So
it
we
late
lost them all.
70s? We saw that white one at a Slam Fest years ago. It was not. I don't know if it was bodied or doored,
Remember all
but
those
I mean
people,
it was gorgeous.
Remember all those people that came after you, Tim, when you were talking about juicing that?
Yeah, I
They're-
remember.
They're
Those
about
Bronco
to, they're,
people are
they're
coming,
about to
they're
come
coming
after
for Dean.
After
That's
Dean.
fine.
Yeah.
Listen, I've taken a 4-wheel drive vehicle
I
and I
think-
cut it and laid it on the ground.
I think the value of those, whatever the market will bear, right? I mean, how many are there? How many are available? What are
whatever's-
people willing to pay?
That's
If
exactly it,
people are
whatever
willing to
somebody's
pay
willing to pay.
500,000 for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
But, well, there you have that. I mean, Broncos are not the easiest.
No.
Staying on full size topic. How about sport trucks? Right, the original, full size lowered kind of racy truck. I'd say an F-150. Right, it had the Lightning.
Yeah, I think the second gen Lightning is probably a favorite.
First or
of
second
most
for
people.
me. Yeah.
I mean, the first gen, beautiful truck, but just the years that they were built. If you think about that first gen Lightning and that 454 SS OBS truck, right?
Oh, my
Beautiful
God.
trucks, we
Yeah.
love them, right?
Yeah.
They weren't fast though. They had
No.
big motors in them, but they weren't fast.
Just an elephant for a motor.
Yeah, a
and,
lot of torque. They were just products of their environment at the time
Yeah.
in the early '90s. So, but if you want fast in a sport truck, a second gen Lightning, supercharged 5.4 Lightning
Yeah.
is probably the one.
Would the Typhoons in that fall in this category? Or,
thanks for bringing
Oh,
those
yeah.
up. Yeah.
so
Typhoon-
Jay Leno got one of them.
Typhoon and
Cyclone.
Cyclone
Cyclone.
both, right? Turbocharged
Yeah, the Cyclone was the other one,
4.3s. Yeah.
Yeah,
those were nasty trucks.
Yeah.
that's true.
So that'd be. But again, you're not finding any of these vehicles cheap.
No, and if you
Yeah.
find
And
them, you
finding
find them
parts for
clapped
those
out,
are
and it's
probably-
like
Yeah.
Not gonna be.
But one could build a sport truck, by just slamming an OBS.
Yeah, you can't talk about sport trucks and not talk about OBSs. Although
Right.
those are getting harder to find
Right.
too, right?
Right.
Oh, they're easy to find. It's just the prices.
Right. Sure.
Like
Good
Peyton's truck right
idea.
now resembles a sport truck,
Right.
right? Because
it's the
slammed
same.
down
It's
on
the same
ground.
thing. It's just less the motor, and I think some of the trim options.
I say
It's
last
the
year,
same thing. It's a standard cab short bed.
this last Slam Fest, I saw several of those Red
So-
Lightnings running around.
Yep.
There was
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them
Yep.
running around.
I think
Most I've ever seen in one place.
I think if somebody can just find, you know, a 90s F-150, they can affordably probably build a sport truck.
And then just slap a Lightning badge on it and never pop the hood.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. They make
That
like
never
they make
happens.
they make the they make
I'm
the
one
supercharger
lightning
kits for
badge
'em.
away from that.
They make the supercharger kits for them. Everything's essentially
Yeah.
bolt on. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that'd be the most affordable way. You know, but there is
make
other
the clones,
options.
yeah. But for the purists, it's just not acceptable.
Yeah. But my other question as far as sport trucks go, do sport trucks have to be slammed?
I would say yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, across the board. Yeah.
Anything if you're talking about a jacked up sport truck, to me they're damn near trophy trucks.
Yeah.
That's it's basically a trophy truck legalized for street.
Yeah.
That's
that
just my
was
opinion.
that was my question. I'm not super familiar with the sport truck
Yeah.
genre. I've never really.
But if that was in
done
the category, that to me it's like trophy.
So that's
it.
why I asked. Because what would you consider, a Raptor or a T-Rex?
Yeah, so there you go.
You know?
Raptor, T-Rex, those two definitely sport truckish.
Is the T-Rex the one
Yeah.
that's wide as a whole road?
Yeah, it's the
Ridiculous.
the Ram. Yeah.
God, those things aren't that
Yeah.
attractive.
And Chevy's trying to do the same thing, but they're not going to be anywhere near the power that
No.
the Raptor or the TRX have. And those are by no means affordable.
No,
I was going to say
yeah,
they'll probably be
yeah.
close to the cost.
But I just that was just my pure curiosity. What are those considered? Are those
Yeah.
considered a sport truck, or are those just?
I think
an
any
off-road
factory
or-
truck built for performance could be considered a sport truck.
Okay, so they could be considered sport trucks. Well, we'll see how the market does with those.
I'm not a gatekeeper on that.
There you go.
I'm
There you
open
go.
to new ideas.
I can tell you that the current Raptor is becoming relatively affordable because nobody wants the EcoBoost
Really?
3.5. Everybody wants the V8. Everybody wants the V8 Raptor. So
Wow, what is it? What's the other option?
right now it's a 3.5 twin turbo. It's got power though. It does.
I believe
does
it, but
have
if I'm
power.
buying that, I want
Right, that's the thing. So I think
cylinders.
I think those Raptors will become affordable. That's my prediction.
That's the difference with the TRX.
Yep.
Even though you don't like it, the big old V8 with a big old
That's
supercharger.
Yep.
It screams.
Right.
It's
The TRX is like 30 grand more than the Raptor, though.
Yeah, I
I want to smell the dinosaurs burning out the
back.
back.
You can.
That's what I want.
It is something. That TRX is something else, buddy.
Straight fossil.
It is.
Fossil fuels.
Let's, keeping it sport. Let's go. Import.
Ooh.
Imports.
Imports.
That's good.
I dabbled for a minute in the import. And
Many an import.
Everybody's about to find out how old we are.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
We're
like,
about to date ourselves right
we're-
here with
we're
Accord
talking
and
what,
Honda.
What we know is going to be a Honda Civic or an
Honda
Accord.
Honda Civic, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
I've
Honda.
owned both of those cars
Yeah.
in my day, for sure. I would say that my favorite Civic, of course, was the 98 to 2000 SI model. That was my favorite
Hatchback?
model, my favorite body type.
Hatchback.
No, not a hatchback. It was a trunk car.
You had me, but I was.
Those years, the 98 to 2000s, I think they had the Type R that was a hatchback, but that was a Japan only and import
Yeah.
only at the time.
I like
Those
those.
things changed later
like
down the
those.
line, but otherwise you had to have an economy Civic with a motor swap.
Yeah.
And again, bolt-on parts for those. I don't know if they are now, but they were
Oh, yeah.
readily accessible.
I
They're
assure you,
probably
they still
terrible
are.
now.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
so everything's changed so much in the sport compact world or
Yeah.
the import world, whatever.
You
But
can still buy a Civic
I
relatively.
feel like we should have
relatively
Peyton on
cheap.
tonight for the import aficionado.
That's
Or
true.
Euro, that's his.
Yeah,
that's his
this is
wheelhouse.
this is his. He would be like, "Well, let me just tell you,
We're-
grab the mic."
We're bringing him. We're dragging him down into the depths of the
Yeah.
lower truck.
Yeah, he's probably going to
Yeah, let's-
watch his podcast. and
let's be fair,
sick.
we really don't know a lot about imports. So
That's
the
true.
Honda
We just-
Civic, we don't know if they're easy to find right now.
Right.
We hope they are.
I can tell you that they are easy to
They are
find.
easy to find.
They are
The
easy.
newer Civics, they look mean. Like
The newer
all the-
Civic, yeah.
I haven't seen him.
But
they're
they're not. But they're
nice.
not cheap.
No, they're not. The new ones are not cheap.
They're not
but
cheap.
They look. Let me pull one up for you.
I saw an interview with John Cena. And John Cena said that he daily drives.
He still does.
A
He still
2020 Civic Type R.
Yep.
Because it's 6-speed, it's economy. You can fit
It's fun.
stuff
Yeah,
in
it's
it.
fun. It's agile. It's
He said,
affordable.
you ever try to put shopping bags in a Lambo?
No, I saw that same interview. It was
Yeah,
great. It was
so-
honest though.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are.
Doesn't matter how
going-
much money someone makes. Some people are just
The
a
car-
slave to what they like. Man.
Yeah,
That's
like the car I had was a Tiburon, and but
That's
they're
one of
just-
that's
it
one of
was
the newer
cheap, but
ones.
There was nothing out there.
I can see if that was like slammed, you know.
Yeah, they look kind of
For
tough.
me, less the wing, but yeah, slammed.
So-
That's right.
I'd-
I'll be honest with you though, I still prefer the old stuff.
Oh, so do I.
It's like that, if I had my pick between that new or an old one new, like bro. I'm going old.
Side note on these imports: did you see what Acura has done to the Integra?
Yes.
They essentially did what Mitsubishi did to the Eclipse. It is a ugly
SUV?
SUV.
They have murdered it.
Yeah,
I thought there was going to be some positive feedback here, but I
A
guess
Mustang's an SUV now.
Yeah, there's an yeah,
well,
a
it's
Mustang
the
SUV.
The
electric.
electric one.
Yeah,
But they still slapped the Mustang badges on it.
they did. They did.
Arguably, when we were growing up in the '90s, the Integra was the unattainable Civic.
Right.
Yeah, right. It was the expensive
Right.
model.
Yeah.
So-
It was the rich kids.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
for the rich kids. Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that orange one you used to ride around town bagged? Like years ago.
No, it's probably after my
What
time.
the 350Z?
They're expensive though.
Ah, it's true. Okay.
Well, they're coming down in price. You can get a 350Z now that's
Been beat up.
beat up for around $6,000
Golly, man.
sometimes. But Civics are still out there for $4,000, like running shape. Okay,
Like a 90
okay,
Civic.
but yeah,
For $4,000.
yeah,
Buying a 30-year-old car that was probably
yeah,
beat to shit.
probably. But there's
Or if you
so
purchase
many,
it, it will be.
But there's so many parts and motor swaps available
Yeah.
for these things that it's just, you know. And flip coin to that, if you have a bunch of money, the easiest thing to do would probably be a Supra.
Oh, you got coin, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you know, Supra's like the Impala.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, Corey went down that rabbit hole.
yeah.
He went down that rabbit hole right before it got.
I think he's still going down the hole. He ain't found the bottom of the
100%.
tunnel
We,
yet.
No,
we
he's-
won't talk about that.
he's
It's
free-
things that
he's
I've had to
free
weld
falling.
up for him and finish up for him. But I don't want to put his business out there. But I will say I've asked what would be now to do the same thing that he's done, like obtaining it in Japan, having it shipped over. It's literally
Here comes your business, Corey.
it's double. Yeah, it's literally double now. From what he told me he paid to purchase it and then have it shipped over, it's double that now. It's literally double that now. I'm like, golly, man, just to get it and have it shipped over. I'm like,
Yeah, well, he started it pre-pandemic.
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
What did they
And
just
it wasn't cheap then, but it was
like a couple months ago? They freed up something. Is it the Skyline?
Skyline or something.
So
That's
the
officially-
R34.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can bring those in now.
you can
which
bring
good.
those into the United
Not
States.
not the GTR
R34.
R34, but there are some R34 models that every month they get more and more models added because it's got to be certain
Right,
year
certain
mark.
years.
20,
and they
25
can-
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They
it
can bring them too.
hasn't been 25
And
years
I didn't even
since
know
the
about that till a
GTR
month
came
ago.
out yet, but they
That's when
are
they
starting to
brought
bring
a lot of
R34s.
I didn't know that. Not my world.
Again, this is not for somebody who's just starting because that's going to
No, that's a lot of money.
be pricey.
That's a lot of money.
Unless you hit that recent Powerball.
On the
$80,000 to
Yeah.
import an R34.
Ooh.
Yeah.
no thanks. No thanks. And on the other side of the imports, the Euros, you know, same kind of style, just European models.
Okay.
I'd say that the easiest one would probably be the Volkswagen Golf. You know, they made the GTIs. I mean, it's when you get into the Euros, it's going to be hard to find a really an affordable one. But if you're gonna do one, that's probably as baseline as you're going to
Yeah,
get,
the most
right? I
common.
mean, it's the most common. You're going to find the most out there.
Yeah.
They're not
That are
crazy.
where the parts are semi-affordable.
Right. The what are they? The GTIs, not GTRs, right? The
There's
GTIs.
the GTIs, I think,
GTIs.
the VR6s, and then the four-cylinder turbos, I think.
The VR6s are going to be where the real money is. That's what Mikey's got.
Mikey's got a R32.
R32.
Yeah,
I don't know if he has it or if the shop really
That
has
was
it at this
that was
point.
top of
He's
the
got one of
line
those.
at the time, though. That was a factory performance
Right.
car.
He's
Right.
driven it like 20 miles, I think.
Yeah, and I think that was just to
I
and
saw a
fro
video
from
of
the
it
shop.
shooting fire out of the back and stuff.
Yeah, and he calls it Woolah or
Yeah.
something.
And they said,
it's a
"All right,
nasty
give it
car."
back."
But
Scirocco's. I mean, you get into some of those early '80s Volkswagens, the Golfs, the GTIs, the Scirocco's, that kind of thing. Getting harder and harder to find for sure. But
yeah,
I think
And
that classic
how's-
import stuff's really coming back.
how's parts
Oh, that's-
availability on that stuff though? That's what I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's only one Volkswagen I'm familiar with.
Yeah, there it is.
And there it is right there.
if one wanted to get into the Euro scene, how affordable
I mean,
is that?
those are pretty affordable. I mean, you can get a decent one, 4 or 5 grand probably, and then parts are just everywhere still. So
There you go.
Really? It's
So,
still- okay.
aftermarket's huge.
so
yeah.
I think we change it to the Beetle.
yeah, it's,
We go
it's
Beetle.
not bad. You want to go to Euros?
You want to go to
Beetle's
Euros?
the way to do it.
Get you a little Beetle,
Yep,
Plenty of
there you go.
headspace.
There you go. Plenty
That's
of room
true.
in there.
and they do look cool.
They do.
Yep.
I like it. I like it.
Especially if they're laid out. I mean, granted,
Yeah.
arguably
can't go
most
wrong
things
with
look better with their lines when they're low.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. They're cool. So going from tiny Beetles, what about donks? Big wheel cars.
Dunks.
It's only one.
Only one.
A Caprice.
It is. It's got to be the Caprice.
Is it a square caprice or is it a bubble caprice?
Yes.
Is it
Either one
both?
of the Caprices. Are
Yes.
Any of those?
Any of those. And it's funny because price wise, man, bubble Caprice is probably a little cheaper than an old school 70s Caprice, but you can find 70s Caprices, the traditional donks, for a fair price. I mean, you can find them out there for 6-7 grand that just need a little bit of work. But if it's going to be your project, you got to expect that anyway.
I can't see myself running out and buying one and doing that too. But if I had to, it'd be like
I wouldn't either.
It would be like a 75.
It would have to be a 70s
75
car,
Caprice,
convertible.
and with
Has to be.
the front, maybe an inch of gap between the wheel and the fender, and then the rear, you got to suck up some of that wheel. You got to soak that in there.
Yeah.
I like that.
Shane-
that
the one,
that's
the
less
one,
of a
the one
dunk.
Pinky built is beautiful.
That's- yeah,
Shane
I was just
Pinky.
That's a
looking at
big
that
wheel
today.
racer, though. I'm going to put that in the dunk. The dunk is it's a 4x4 with a Caprice body.
Is it?
So,
See, I'd just consider it a big.
Well, I
wheel
think
car.
that was a phase.
I'd
That
go
was like
big
to
wheel car.
2000s donk,
So
where they had like
things-
4x4 suspension
Yes.
with 22s, and then like 3 foot of gap between the wheel and the. That was like the thing to do back in the 2000s.
Where we're in our F-250s going, what the hell is he doing
Yeah.
up there?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that phase started. They were doing those S10 spindle swaps, 4-wheel drive, stuff like that, and they were getting Caprices lifted up pretty high. But now, I mean, if you watch some of the YouTube videos and some of the engineering and the builds and the coilovers,
I feel like it's
and
almost a
the
different
work
category.
goes
Like
in
that
there.
was a donk, and now
This is
like
big wheel
pinky
racers,
stuff
yeah.
is big wheels.
Yeah, big wheel
I
racer.
like to call them like a big. What would you do for a big wheel car? I don't even like to consider some of them a donk because if it's
That's true.
swallowing half the rim in the back,
That's true.
it's to
And
me
big
it's
wheel
not
car.
that genre.
Those are the motors in it. Like, this is for
Woo.
people starting out.
1,000,
They are-
1,500 horsepower,
Yeah.
Brutal.
taking a
But
set
if
of
you just-
28s or 30s and just roasting
But if you
them.
just want a car to make it a clean car and put some big old wheels on it, I think you got to go 70s Caprice because like you got donkparts.com
Yeah,
out there with new old stock.
I'm not going to lie. I've not visited that website, sir.
I have because my 75.
It's actually blocked on my browser.
buddy. Listen, I got NOS parts from there for mine.
Yeah.
I got
He really
I
did.
got all kind of window felts and window trims and
Yep.
little pieces here and little pieces there.
and if it's
all
well
good.
kept, the NOS stuff is.
Yeah.
If it's well kept,
And
it's
fair
always going to
prices.
fit better than the repop aftermarket stuff.
And fair prices. Like they have trims. They have. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a good support, aftermarket support for the Caprice.
Yeah.
I think those cars from an automotive perspective have just garnered respect now, right? Just the way that they're built, like you said, the big motors. I mean, the donk's tucking half a wheel in the back with a coilover setup. I mean, it's not necessarily for me, but I can respect the work.
Right.
I'll tell you
Right.
this. I
Fully
would.
tubbed. Yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough to drive the original
No.
4x4 donk.
Ooh, God,
There was
those were.
100% chance.
That
I would
was a.
hop in.
I'm sorry. I'm
something
saying that
like-
was a
like-
whole new level of hideous.
Yeah.
Just
I would
so-
100% drop in like Pinky's car and drive that.
like they would make
Everything.
28s look small. That's how
Like
ridiculous they
so-
jacked them up.
The infamous La Sabre that I almost bought that was a Ford Ranger title. That one was close, right? It had 20. What was it?
22s or 24s on it.
I don't
Did it have
know.
a Ford Ranger frame? Did
No.
we take a look at that?
But it wasn't jacked up. Super
It was a
high.
Ford Ranger with a
Ford
the
conversion
Caprice
La
body.
Sabre.
Or La Sabre body.
It wasn't jacked up super high, but it wasn't tucking wheel.
Yeah.
But if that thing tucked some wheel in the back,
What he had is
It
it was
probably would've
about
been
an
pretty
inch or
clean
so of clearance between the tire,
yeah,
and you can see in the fender well, front and back.
yeah,
The new thing is squat the rear a little bit, which
right,
if I had to get into that,
yeah, I wouldn't have minded driving.
honestly, if I had enough stupid money, if I had FU money, I'd probably own one of those just like Pinky, just because.
right, just because. you
Because
can.
I mean, they are done right.
yeah,
They
He
are
said
done.
he's about to get back in the hopping game. Did y'all see that?
Yep.
But then he's going to sell it right away again.
He's like, listen. I talked to
beat a couple
Pinky.
people
Shout out to
and stuff.
Pinky. I talk to him now and then. I know. I won't expose too much information, but I know he's currently on the hunt again for another fast car. As far as details in which he's looking for, won't go
right.
into that.
What-
But I know he's on the hunt again for another fast car
Did he say why he's trying to sell the Camaro that he just got?
because he's on the hunt for another fast car. I asked that question. I said, let's talk. I said, what's going on with that? Why is that up for sale? He goes, I said, what have you done to it since you got it? He said,
Nothing.
He said, collected dust on my rack.
Yeah,
So
nothing. Like,
I know that. So from what I gathered from him, and that's about as much as I'll expose, is he's on the hunt for another fast car. So for whatever reason, it's just not tickling his fancy enough, and he's got his mind set on other things.
Yeah.
But he is actively looking for something fast again.
All right, well, that
And the Camaro's
perfect,
not wrong with it. Like it's race ready. Like he just was going to put his touches on it. Obviously, make it probably faster, but he hasn't even. That thing came off the trailer onto his rack, and there she is sat. So I know he's in the market. And other than right now, currently he's on the race circuit. He's running everywhere. I know that, setting up and racing and blowing doors off. But
Yeah. Well, that's
he's like, when he's running.
dude, he's not one to mess with in any game. If he gets into a game, go ahead, just be afraid. Like, I'm not trying to blow smoke and puff his ego up, but if he's jumping into a game, it just seems like he comes out to just squash competition. Not just to say he's there, but to squash competition. And he's proven it. You can only, it's not talking garbage if he's backing it up, and he's backed it
a
up.
little white guy from Ohio. Who'd have thunk?
Yep, who'd have thunk it? Just taking hardware.
Yeah. Listen, that's a perfect segue to the next category, man. Speaking of Camaros and fast cars, muscle cars. Granted, muscle cars, I don't think you're going to build any muscle car cheap, but
Not these days, no.
at least not in the old school traditional sense of a muscle car.
Yeah.
But maybe one of these, kind of newer ones you might be able to get into the game.
So, I mean, we could just throw out there that obviously a Mustang. Mustang's probably a good place to start from an economic
Crowd
standpoint.
killer.
Yeah, if you don't like crowds, absolutely
Yeah.
go to it.
I mean, it is. You can listen
more.
because
You chalk out 12 bodies.
Take out
right quick.
everybody out front of Home Depot in one fell swoop.
you can find the mid late '90s Mustangs relatively affordable right now.
Yeah.
See, but when we say muscle cars,
I
I don't jump into a Mustang.
And
Like a
that's what-
muscle to me
I'm
is
over
like
here
an old
like
Nova.
I'm like, thank you. You took it right. I was gonna say
Something-
Nova or
well,
Chevelle.
right, but everything has an evolution, and these cars are still theoretically the muscle cars
Right,
of the
well,
time.
I'm just saying-
and that's why I prefaced with I don't think affordably you're going to be able to get into the traditional sense of a lowrider, or not lowrider. I'm sorry, muscle car. But if you are on a budget and you need a quote unquote muscle car,
Yeah.
I think a Mustang from the mid late '90s or
Yeah.
a Camaro from the mid '90s,
Yeah.
probably a little boring than the Mustangs, but you know,
Maybe an Impala SS 94 to 96 if you're into that. Right.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
If you got a little bit of extra cash,
Yeah. You got
Or a friend willing to lend you his keys.
there you go.
But yeah, I mean, it's. I think there's always been and there always will be easy access parts for muscle cars. I mean, it's just
The
motors
Mustang
and
Fox
heads
body
and
is like,
it's iconic.
Talk.
Yeah,
and if I had the thing is too, if I had to pick a Mustang, it would be the Fox body, like the Celine look, where it had those sharp lines in the rear but no wing. Just those with the appropriate wheel and tire combination
4i
and
trunk.
stance. Oh,
I grew up gangster, so it was going to have to be the Menace to Society.
oh yeah.
Oh, the Fox body.
Yeah.
big bar
Yeah, yeah.
wheels,
No, listen.
green
We're talking about
convertible.
muscle cars. We're not,
I'm just saying, like,
now, if I had a Mustang drop, like they even had the small run of like McLaren infused or designed drops. That's actually what Aaron had. He had a 5.0 McLaren Mustang, and it's just got subtle.
McLaren.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're a little
McLaren.
funky. ASC,
McLaren put out a
McLaren.
signature
Really?
My granddad had
5.0.
one.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it was yellow.
And he started showing me all the differences between the drops and everything like that. I'm like, you mean it's a Mustang? Right? He goes, no, it's a McLaren Mustang. I'm like, what? And then he showed me, and I went over and checked it out. And
This whole time he was talking, I'm like, I think he means Shelby.
no,
Yeah,
no, seriously,
it's
it's a
McLaren. They're a
listen.
little funky too.
I thought he was
Yeah.
wrong. I was convinced he was wrong. I went over there. I'm like, it's a whole subculture that he is clearly on, and I'm
Yeah.
clearly off.
And that's the thing, man. There's niches or niches, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, of categories, man, that we know nothing
Yeah.
about, but people love them.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And respect to them, man.
There's a
Listen,
forum somewhere for McLaren Mustangs.
100%.
He's on all of them.
if we're talking Ford, for me, it's the truck. I'm not even a fan of my truck. Other than that, you can throw all the other Fords away. I do not like Ford
that's-
at all.
so that's-
Sorry, Justin. Justin's a big Ford
Hey,
guy.
you had a reliable F-150 for
a truck.
minute.
It was a truck.
Oh, okay. You're just
The
never
F-
mind.
the,
Never
the,
mind.
the trucks, man. Like the Ford trucks are okay.
Yeah.
Everything else, you throw it away. I
Yeah.
don't need it.
Throw
So
it
what do
in
you
the
guys
pile.
what do you guys have for muscle cars? What are your favorite muscle cars that are out there?
My favorite muscle car, man, I'd have to like old or,
Yeah, just
or
your
new.
favorite muscle car.
Man, see,
So
I've
I think
never
of
been-
muscle cars. I think of 70s, 60s,
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with muscle cars.
pony cars, whatever. I mean,
Okay,
70s,
man.
70s. No, some 70s were really good. 80s had a real rough
yeah,
go at it.
The EPA
I think with
the
most
EPA
everything,
yeah.
80s
Yeah.
80s had a real rough go at it, minus mini trucks.
I think my
But
I think my favorite muscle car is a 70. It's a 70 Chevelle,
Yep.
70 Chevelle SS.
SS,
Okay.
396 SS. I think 70. I like the taillights on the 70 the
Looks like-
best.
Yeah.
So they
I don't
were.
see
I
a
mean,
lot of the differences.
the 68, 69,
There's
70,
there's
71,
differences in the
72.
top and the bottom.
The real
towards
differences
the
are
back.
in the back end of those cars, but the 70 is just one of my favorites
Yeah.
when it comes to muscle cars. Attainable, probably not.
That
Not-
was him-
Not for me anyway.
showing you, but also fact checking how wrong he thought I probably was.
I'm struggling with muscle car because I've never been a
You
big
do?
muscle
Oh, this
car
is
guy.
interesting. Okay.
I really am because I've never been a go fast, car guy. I've never been a muscle car guy. I was
You had a tip
low and
round
slow.
6-cylinder
built out of convenience.
and decided to
always
make it
just-
slow with 215s in the back to shake
exactly,
panels.
Exactly.
Let's talk
So
about
I'm struggling a
Right.
little bit.
He's
Like, when I
struggling
think-
like the Tibron was to move that.
When I think of muscle car, I just think of like Mustangs.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
like the
so-
GT500s or something.
My 64 Impala actually has the drivetrain of a 70 Chevelle in it.
Right.
It's got the 307 in it. So it's all. It's
I
worked
guess
out.
if I had to pick one, I'd say an Impala, just because I can make it a lowrider. And
I mean,
I
those
said Impala.
I mean,
they weren't really. They
I'm going to
weren't-
put a big
they weren't
engine
the
in this, but
fastest
it's
of
going to
the
end
back
up
in
on
the day.
14s.
but they were muscle
there
cars,
are
right?
muscle
Quote,
car
unquote.
versions of the 64 Impala for
There are.
sure.
There
See,
are.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. See, I'd probably go that route.
There's one that's been on a lot of social
Lower
media.
Yeah.
Have you
Look,
seen
the
the-
Battleship?
Have you seen the black one on social media?
Battleship. It's called Battleship.
Yeah, with the 60 that
Yeah.
he's doing a 3-wheel just on the off the line because it's just it's doing a wheelie that hard.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the lowrider.
No, I'm talking about muscle car.
Oh, no, I'm talking
like,
about the lowrider Battleship. This big
Oh.
giant blower on some black. It's all black on 13. Black. Oh,
What
man,
about that Corvette that's got the blower and it's got juice? You remember that? Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, they just burnt
like a-
right up on
Driving
the-
around looking normal as hell, then he just goes and puts it up into a 3.
One of them
This
ugly ass
conversation
Stingrays.
has gone sideways.
It has. It has. Nowhere near
Have you seen,
affordable.
the Corvette?
No.
All right.
We
I
got-
heard
we
somebody
got
in the
time for
background
it.
when he did it, he went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, listen, muscle cars. There's
Muscle cars
there's
are
no
not
way.
Will's thing.
There's
Justin,
no way to be
can you
affordable.
save
in a
Will?
muscle
What is
car.
your favorite muscle car?
I don't have a favorite, but
Yeah,
I
I
kind of like the
don't-
Galaxies.
Galaxies? Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Big
I'm
boat.
tough on a favorite.
And you know what's funny?
Trent's not a
I'm
fan.
shocked it's a Ford.
You know what's funny? I've always thought a Galaxy, like a drop Galaxy 500 XL, would make a beautiful lowrider. But they got
Trent, you wanna guess
just
what his
like
favorite
just like
color
the
one is?
60s T-Birds, but they could share the same
Black.
issue of unibody.
with
You know,
tint of
and I
blue.
Not
just
great low riders.
I feel you'd break some things. Use the 60s
For sure.
unibody.
Maybe a Falcon,
Oh, Falcons are nice.
Mm,
a little smaller.
yeah,
I don't really know much about Fords.
I like them.
I know Trent
That sounds
hates
good.
them.
I like 'em.
Yeah.
Trent hates
Trent's
most
not a
of them.
fan.
I like the Fomoco, you know.
Fomoco, baby.
Listen, you're part of the Fomoco family now.
I am.
My Mercury's
Yeah.
Fomoco.
There you go. See, I mean, I don't think there's any real way to be affordable in the
Oh, yeah.
muscle car category, unless you go modern or somewhat modern 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it goes up on 3.
Yeah, I like that car just fine. We're going to have to put that up.
I like that car just fine.
I'll try. I don't know if I can put that up, but I'll try.
That's for sure.
We got a
Be
picture
in,
of it.
be in a video. But
Yeah, that Corvette's always thrown me for a loop. Like
Yeah.
to see it.
it just
When I
it's
first
just
saw
so
the video,
it's
I had
just
to
so
double
rigid.
take.
It's just so rigid the way it does it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it,
Well,
Justin?
it's 'cause it's the glass body.
I was amazed by it and not breaking in half.
Right?
Yeah.
And he didn't just, it wasn't baby, it was tweaked 3-wheel. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean that sums up our 8 categories there, man. I think we settled on the easiest lowrider would be a G body, the easiest mini truck would be an S10, the easiest truck to lift would be an F250, the easiest sport truck would be an F150, the easiest import would be a Civic, the easiest Euro would be a VW Bug,
The
The easiest big wheel / donk / whatever you want to call it would be a Caprice.
Got to be a Caprice.
And muscle car, I guess, good luck.
Good luck and best of luck.
See,
We don't know anything about those.
Yeah.
It just-
We were completely unprepared for this category.
As soon as I hear muscle car, I just instantly go to 60s, 70s.
Chevette. For me, my brain, like if I think muscle car, I think the heavy Chevy. That's
See,
it.
I just,
you know?
Why not a
I just think American V8.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I don't mind saying a '90s Mustang or Camaro.
No, and I
or-
like
or even these new, the newer Challengers or whatever, Chargers.
Stretching.
Well, no, they really are.
I think you're reaching on that one.
They
Okay,
can be made to go
right.
quick.
What?
right.
Real
Line
fast in circles and hitting people?
Well, yeah.
No, line up next to
They do.
a demon and see what happens. Like it's
You get hit.
See what happens.
Line up next to it. I got plenty of videos. They get hit. Everybody in a circle.
Hold on. Yeah, I mean, I
Whole
don't know.
new.
I think if you
Whole
I
new
think,
meaning to hoe down.
I think muscle cars. If you stay in the '90s and go Mustang, I don't think you can go wrong. In my opinion, this is all just
I
opinions.
think you could go wrong.
I mean, you could. If you,
Again, I will bring it back to the videos.
Is sideways wrong?
it depends. You're trying to drift it. You're trying to hit some people. I mean, it all
You've
depends.
seen the videos. They are not trying to.
Lil A, Lil B.
They hit the
Okay.
gas, and then like the camera zooms in on them,
Listen.
and they have the.
Listen.
We're talking
aside-
ski masks, a little weed, and hitting it sideways.
Aside from driver error or / stupidity,
I don't think it's error.
as
I think
far
it's on
as-
purpose.
I'm just talking about ease of building, parts availability, and vehicle availability and price. The Mustang is the go-to, and that's probably why so many of them are crowd killers, because it's the easiest, cheapest one.
It's the easiest to go to
true.
because it's
More
going to
power than they're
everybody.
prepared for.
Yeah, power.
So it's the Ford guy.
Well, you see just as many Challengers mowing down people.
That's true.
Ultima's,
kind of circle they're doing.
The Ultima is another favorite in the side swipe category.
The what?
Ultima.
Yeah, Ultima's.
The baby mama car?
A Nissan?
Oh yeah,
The
Taking people
wheel,
out.
The front wheel drive Ultima. Were they
Taking-
going in reverse?
taking out people. Oh yeah, no, the Ultima. Yeah, dude, look them up. You see the same videos people doing, just trying to drift and stuff like that, taking people out.
It's an
E-
Altima.
e-brakes.
Who's trying to drift an Altima?
I think
You've seen the videos. You've seen the generation.
45 million baby mamas can't be wrong.
Oh man, well that sums up today. I think. Thanks for joining us today here in Tim's garage here with Lifted Lower Confused podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that little notification bell. Get notified anytime we pop on a new video. Fridays at 5. Catch you on the next one.